Hi everyone, and welcome to Two Player Quest. Today we'll be reviewing SETI by Czech Games. SETI is a Euro-style game in which you explore space. You do this by launching your probes, scanning systems, and landing your probes on either planets or moons, or you can choose to orbit them. All in the search for extraterrestrial life. Let's get into it. SETI is a 1 to 4 player game. It plays between about 40 minutes and 2.5 hours. It all depends on how many people you're playing with. It says 40 minutes per person, which we do agree with, so that's a good estimation. Complexity-wise, it's only 3.67 on Board Game Geek, so it's of medium complexity. And when it comes to luck, it's got slight luck in it. It all depends on the cards that you draw, but there are many different ways of earning the victory points that you need, and the cards aren't everything, but they do help. This is what the start of a 2-player game of SETI can look like. We have used the app to help set up the board in this case. On your turn, you can do one of the main actions, and you can do any number of free actions. Once you have done the actions you wanted to do that turn, it is the next player's turn, and you keep going until everybody has passed. Once everyone has passed, everybody gains their income, you pass the first player token, and you move on to the next round. There are 7 actions you can do. The first one is you play a card from your hand by paying its cost, stated here. You can launch a probe from Earth. You can orbit or land one of the probes when they are on a planet. You can scan a system. You can analyze the data you have retrieved. Or you can research a tech which is found on the right corner. Once everyone has passed, the round is over. To unlock the aliens, there needs to be 1 trace of life for every 3 kinds of traces that can be seen here. That's 1 pink trace, 1 yellow trace, and 1 blue trace. Once those have been found, the alien is turned round, and you then read the card from this specific alien to see the new rules for the aliens. The game has 5 rounds. The player at the end of those 5 rounds with the most points wins. I would say SETI is quite an easy game to teach. Give it 15 minutes for more experienced board gamers and maybe a bit longer for a bit more inexperienced board gamers. It comes with this player guide, which basically gives you all the information you need. So you just need to go over the basics. Everyone knows how everything works, and the player guide will help with the rest. I do suggest don't deal with the aliens until the aliens come into play. Those rules are different per alien species. You do not have to go over them before you start playing. SETI is a puzzle game. Completely a puzzle. How am I going to do what I want to do? You make a plan, you try to see it through. Players can't necessarily get in the way too much, at least in a 2-player game. A 2-player game is very different from a more-player game, but I'll get into that later when it comes about playing this with more games. So, for 2 players, this is very much a puzzle game. People can't get in your way too much, just a bit. And you can usually still do whatever you want with a few extra steps. So if you want to make a plan, this is a good game. If you want a puzzle to see what's the best way to do this, this is a good game. Plus, it's all about the points. As with many Euro games, it's all about the points and the ways you're going to get there. So, if that's something you like, then this is a good game. After several games of SETI, we can say it is quite an enjoyable game, but not as enjoyable as we'd hoped. We'd hoped it was more of a building up kind of game, like, for example, Terraforming Mars, and it's also shorter than we thought it would be. So the building up does sort of happen, but definitely you can't do as much as we had hoped when we originally bought it. Having said that, it's still a fun game to play. We're just uncertain whether it is the right game for us. And that's probably why you're on this channel as well, to find out whether something is the right fit for you. So we're uncertain whether it will be staying in our board game cupboard. We will be trying it out a few more times before we decide to get rid of it. Playing SETI with more players is absolute and complete chaos. The board changes constantly. You think, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. You do first thing, because you only have one action per turn, then all you need is the map to stay still where it was, and then it switches 3 times, and then you're screwed because you can no longer do what you want to do. So it is absolute chaos with 4 players. It is constantly rethinking what you are doing, which is very different from the 2-player game. In the 2-player game, you can basically do what on earth you want, well, what on space you want, and get away with it, and maybe make a few minor changes. But with 4 players, the next turn can be so completely different, and everything can be absolutely somewhere else, that whatever you wanted to do has no effect anymore. So it's much more adapting in a 4-player game than in a 2-player game. That is something that you should think about when thinking about buying this game or playing this game. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching our review of SETI. If you have any comments, feedbacks, or suggestions, put them in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you next time on 2-Player Quest.